What if I told you there is an American city so old, so forgotten by its own country, that when one man arrived with a suitcase full of money in 1885, he didn't just build a hotel, he erased a world of narrow stone lanes, of women praying in candlelit churches, of fishermen who spoke a language you've never heard, of a city that had already survived 5 flags, 2 empires, and more fires than anyone could count. That city was St. Augustine, Florida, and the spring of 1885 was its last quiet breath before everything changed forever. Today we are going back, not just to visit, but to stand there, to smell the salt air, to hear the mule-drawn streetcar scrape across stone, to watch a city caught between 2 worlds, one dying, one about to be born. And by the end of this video, you are going to wonder something that historians still argue about today. Was what happened to St. Augustine a miracle or a beautiful kind of destruction? Stay with me, because this story starts at a gate built to keep enemies out and ends with a man who walked right through it with a checkbook. Close your eyes for a second. It is April 1885. The gasoline engine doesn't exist yet. The telephone is only 9 years old. Most Americans have never seen electric light. And here, on this thin strip of Florida coast, pressed between the Atlantic Ocean and a quiet lagoon, sits the oldest continuously inhabited European established city in the entire United States, St. Augustine, founded in 1565. That is 55 years before the Pilgrims ever landed at Plymouth Rock. This city has been burning and rebuilding for over 300 years. But in the spring of 1885, something is different. The air feels different, because one man has just arrived. A man so wealthy, so connected, so ruthlessly efficient that within 5 years he will transform this forgotten outpost into the most talked about destination in all of America. His name is Henry Flagler, but we will get to him. First, let's walk this city before he changes it forever. We begin at the northern edge of the city, at 2 stone pillars that look almost too simple to matter. But don't let that fool you. These are the city gates of St. Augustine, built in 1808 from coquina, a soft, compressible limestone made entirely of compressed shells quarried right here in Florida. Touch the surface. It is pitted, rough, damp from the morning air. The smell here is horse manure, damp earth, and just beneath it, faint orange blossoms drifting from groves just past the city limits. Now here is what people don't know about these gates. They were not decorative. They were built as a working military defense point, the final anchor of a fortified earthen wall called the Cubo Line, designed to seal off the entire northern approach to the city. The original gate on this very spot dates to the early 1700s, built after the English raid of 1702, when soldiers from South Carolina burned nearly everything in St. Augustine to the ground, except for one thing. We will come back to that. By 1885, the military purpose of these gates has been completely forgotten. Children play near the base. A group of Seminole traders waits in the shade. They have traveled from the south to sell deer skins and beadwork to the growing stream of curious northern visitors. A mule-drawn streetcar scrapes past on iron rails, and the men stepping around it wear wide-brimmed felt hats and linen coats, their faces tanned by a Florida sun that northerners find both beautiful and brutal. And here is the haunting part. In just a few decades, these gates will be a backdrop for tourists in horseless carriages, their 300-year-old history almost entirely unknown to the people walking past them. Walking south from the gates, we enter a different kind of world. St. George Street, barely wide enough for 2 carriages to pass. The houses are built right to the edge of the road. Their second-story wooden balconies hang so low over the lane, you could almost reach up and knock on a shutter. The air is cooler here. The thick coquina walls trap the night's chill well into the afternoon. And somewhere behind a heavy cedar door, muffled voices, speaking Minorcan-inflected Spanish. That detail matters, because most people don't know this. St. Augustine wasn't just founded by the Spanish. It was repopulated in the 1760s by over 1,000 settlers from the Mediterranean island of Minorca, brought here to work indigo plantations. Most of them were treated as virtual slaves. Most of them survived anyway, and by 1885, their descendants, the Minorcan fishing community, are still here, still speaking fragments of their ancestors' dialect, still cooking their food, still living in the same stone houses their grandparents built. But here is where things get uncomfortable. A shopkeeper on your right is hanging a new sign: curiosities, alligator teeth, orange wood canes. He is targeting the northern tourists, the ones who see this narrow, worn, dimly lit street and think, charming, but it needs fixing up. And that phrase, fixing up, is about to have devastating consequences for this neighborhood. Many of these original coquina homes will be torn down within the next 15 years, replaced by a Victorian-era romanticized idea of what Spanish architecture should look like. The irony, they will destroy the real thing to build a fake version of it. We emerge from St. George Street into blinding sunlight, the Plaza de la Constitución. This rectangular common has been the center of public life since the city's founding in 1565. 320 years of history packed into one dusty, grass-patched square. In the center stands a white obelisk, the Constitution Monument, erected in 1813 to honor the Spanish Constitution, a political statement from a city that has been claimed by more governments than most countries. Spanish, British, Spanish again, American, Confederate, American once more. Every single regime has stood in this plaza and declared victory. Right now, in April 1885, Minorcan fishermen sit on the live oak benches playing dominoes next to New York bankers who arrived by steamship last week. A Spanish guitar drifts from a nearby tavern. The smell of fresh-caught mullet and strong coffee hangs in the humid air. But beneath this sand, right beneath your feet, lie the foundations of wooden cathedrals, government buildings, and homes that were burned and buried and forgotten over centuries. This plaza is a graveyard that no one is mourning. On the north side of the plaza stands the Cathedral of St. Augustine, the oldest Catholic parish in the United States. Step inside and the temperature drops immediately. The thick coquina walls hold the nights cool like a vault. The air smells of beeswax candles and old wood. A woman in a dark lace mantilla kneels on the dirt floor, praying for a son who went to sea. In 1885, the cathedral looks much as it did when completed in 1797. Thick walls, a modest facade, no bell tower yet. But look carefully. Scaffolding is rising on the north side of the building. The bell tower is under construction, funded in part by a man whose name will soon be everywhere in this city, Henry Flagler. Here is something almost no one talks about. On April 12, 1887, less than 2 years from this very moment, fire will gut this cathedral completely. The coquina walls will survive. They always survive. But everything inside, the records, the altars, the art, gone. The congregation will launch a national fundraising campaign, hire one of America's most famous architects, and rebuild from the ash. Which means the cathedral you can visit today is built on loss, as almost everything in this city is. Now we walk west. The quiet Mediterranean city disappears, replaced by chaos, mud, scaffolding, the constant hammering of hundreds of workers under a merciless Florida sun. This is where Henry Flagler is building the Ponce de Leon Hotel. And what is happening here in the spring and summer of 1885 is unlike anything America has seen before. Let me give you the full picture because the history books keep getting this wrong. Flagler didn't just build a luxury hotel, he built it in a way that should have been impossible. The site was a salt marsh. Workers had to fill it, literally rebuild the ground before they could lay a single foundation stone. Then, instead of brick, timber, or stone, the architects from a New York firm called Carrere and Hastings designed the entire structure to be built from poured concrete, mixed with crushed coke in a shell, poured into wooden molds, lifted in sections, wall by wall. It will become the first large multi-story structure in the United States built entirely of poured concrete. But here is the detail that nobody mentions: the hotel's electrical system. Every wire, every light fixture, every switch was designed and installed personally by Thomas Edison, close friend of Flagler. The Ponce de Leon will be one of the first buildings in America designed from the ground up for electric light. In a city where most homes still use oil lamps and candles, Flagler is about to turn on the future. Hundreds of laborers are working this site, many of them African American workers, many European immigrants, all of them being paid to erase a salt marsh and grow a palace in its place. And Flagler isn't done. In December 1885, he purchases a controlling stake in a short-line railroad connecting St. Augustine to Jacksonville, because Flagler understands something that no one else in the room has figured out yet. A hotel without transportation is just a building. A hotel connected to a railroad, that is a destination. The Ponce de Leon will open January 10, 1888, and within a single season, St. Augustine will be the most famous city in America. We leave the noise and walk east, toward the water. The Matanzas River, lagoon separated from the open Atlantic by the low scrub of Anastasia Island, stretches before us, brilliant turquoise under the afternoon sun. Small fishing boats dot the water. White sails catch the breeze. The masts of a schooner arriving from Havana, carrying sugar and cigars, are visible to the south. Groups of boys dive off the wooden docks, competing for pennies tossed by arriving steamship passengers. Women in lace parasols walk the seawall, a coquina and granite barrier built by the U.S. Army in the 1830s to hold back the tides. Every visitor who comes to St. Augustine in 1885 arrives by water, by steamship from Jacksonville, gliding into these quiet docks. And what they see when they arrive, this layered, ancient, sun-worn city pressed against the edge of a lagoon, is unlike anything else in America. It is genuinely old in a country obsessed with being new. Across the water, Anastasia Island sits low and green. The view has been photographed more than almost anything else in Florida. Those wooden docks you see now be replaced by concrete piers within a generation. And eventually, a bridge called the Bridge of Lions will span this water, connecting the old world to the new. But tonight in 1885, the docks are still wood, the boats still sail by wind, and the city is still quiet enough that you can hear a guitar playing from a tavern 2 streets away. As the sun drops over the San Sebastian River, the first of Flagler's electric lights flicker on across town, and St. Augustine stands at the exact edge of a cliff. Behind it, 300 years of survival. Fire, raids, siege, flags raised and torn down, a Minorcan fishing community that outlasted empires, coquina walls that absorbed cannon fire and refused to break. Ahead of it, the railroad, the concrete hotel, the tourists in their thousands, the automobiles, the souvenir shops, the Bridge of Lions, the millions of visitors who will come looking for something ancient in a world that is speeding up too fast. And here is the question that no historian has fully answered. What is it that actually survived? The buildings, many of them still stand. The city gates are still there. St. George Street still carries those overhanging balconies. The Plaza is still the center of town. Flagler's Ponce de Leon, now Flagler College, still has its rotunda and its Tiffany glass windows, still in daily use. But the Minorcan dialect, nearly gone. The fishing community, largely scattered. Quiet, slow rhythm of a city that once existed on its own terms, replaced deliberately, aggressively, and permanently by a Gilded Age fantasy that tourists could purchase by the night. And yet, something real is still here. Something that absorbed every blow this city ever took. The raids, the fires, the developers, the tourists, and didn't break. Maybe it's the coquina, that soft shell-built stone that doesn't shatter under cannon fire. It just absorbs the impact and holds. Maybe St. Augustine is made of the same thing, If you could walk St. Augustine in 1885, what's the one thing you'd never want to see disappear? Drop it in the comments.